Thank you for tuning in to the Catch a Lift Fund's Coach's Corner podcast. We hope you enjoy today's episode and will consider supporting the Catch a Lift Fund and the veterans we serve. Visit our website for more information about our programs at catchaliftfund.org. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis or suicidal thoughts, please call 988 or the Veterans Crisis Line 988, followed immediately by the number 1. The views and opinions expressed during the Coach's Corner podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the Catch a Lift Fund. The Catch a Lift Fund does not verify or warrant the truth or accuracy of statements made during the podcast, and statements therein are not to be construed as an official policy or position of the Catch a Lift Fund. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein should be construed as health, medical, or other professional advice. The Coach's Corner is a place for veterans to connect, heal, and share their stories. I'm Melissa Luke, the host of the Coach's Corner podcast. I am a U.S. Army Iraq War veteran, coach, and program director for the Catch a Lift Fund. The Coach's Corner is sponsored by ID Technologies. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coach's Corner. We're excited to bring you another new episode of Coach's Corner this week, welcoming Cal veteran athlete and U.S. Army and Air Force veteran Yolanda Jones to the show. Yolanda, welcome.
How you doing?
Doing good today. It's good to have you.
My son made
all good
his appearance. He forgot I was doing this, I guess.
All is good. We've got a lot we want to talk about today, Yolanda. Let's jump right into it.
Let's go.
You joined the Army in 1988. Talk to us about your decision to join.
Well, it's probably not a typical reason. Initially, I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to Maritime College. I'm from the Bronx, New York. And
okay.
I wanted to go to that college. And I went and did night classes to do like physics and some trigonometry and things that I wasn't getting in the actual high school so I can qualify. Got qualified for it, and my dad actually scared me from going. We were looking at 4th of July special on TV, and the Navy was out there on ships, and the corpsmen were out there being sails, like they were being active sails, and he was like, "You're gonna have to do that if you go there." I was like, "Oh no." So, and that's where I had my heart set on going. I had scholarships and things of that nature, but I wasn't really concerned with, playing sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For some reason, my heart was set on going to that school. They had like a lot of IT and engineering type stuff that I was into at the time that really captured my focus and attention. And for a nerdish kid to go out of the way to go to school to take classes that normal kids don't like physics.
Yeah.
In trigonometry, so math and science, extra math and science classes, I had to be like committed to it. And when he told me that, being that I can't swim, first of all, second of all, I was like, I'm not getting out on anybody's sail and doing any of that crazy nonsense that these guys are doing.
That's funny.
So I just file 13, that whole thought pattern. I went down to see the recruiter. My dad was like, yeah, find out about our ROTC and going in as an officer, la-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, yeah, Dad, cool. I went down to the recruiter's office and I didn't ask any of those questions at all. I was like, dude, I'm tired of being a nerd. I'm tired of nobody taking me serious. I want to go in the military. I want to get out of here.
Okay.
And I don't want anything that means that I have to go out in the field, because I'm not going out in the field for nobody. I don't do bugs, and I'm not camping. That's not my thing. So I'll never forget him. Staff Sergeant Quintana, that was his name, and he found me a fixed station telecommunications, automatic data telecommunications center operator, signal soldier. He found it, and I was happy with that job classification because I could do basically anything I wanted to outside of mechanics. Same thing when I crossed over. Anything that didn't have mechanics totally applied to it, I was all in. I passed with flying colors, but you know, I just was like adamant about not going to the field. So I'm like, I'm
Fair
from the
enough.
Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. I don't want to go in the field. It ain't my thing.
That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about that time as a soldier in the Army, Yolanda.
Well, a lot of people don't like me because my basic training, I had fun. I had
Yeah.
fun. So it's like something out of the movie theater. So like there was a private Stewart, a private Jones, and a private Aiken. We had a drill sergeant Stewart, a drill sergeant Jones, and a drill sergeant Aiken. And I kid you not, they made us try to make us competitive, and we were three of the sorriest sacks of poo you've ever seen in your life. You know, like bayonet training, rifle, downrange training. They was like, "Come on, Jones, you're from the Bronx. You know how to shoot. You know how to use it." I didn't know how to do none of that. I didn't know what a push-up was. I didn't know about any of that stuff. Like I said, I was a nerd, so like at age 9, I was building robots and playing on computers. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a fighter. I don't. This is not my stilo. So we had a great time. Reynolds, we used to call her ambulance. She stayed sick and going back and forth to the doctor. She was my battle buddy, but it was what it was. But we had a great time. You know, I would do, if I had to do basic training all over again, if I had the same exact people to go with again, I'd absolutely go for it. I had a blast. We went to the movies, we had dances, you know, we babysat the drill sergeant's kids. We were first platoon, first blood, Fort Jackson, Delta 30 to 34th. I'll never forget it. It was like
Nice.
the bomb. So my Army experience in Korea was not what most people depict of their basic training experience. So
Yeah.
I actually had fun. I don't know how I did that, but I did.
No, that's cool. How long would you go on to serve in the Army, Yolanda?
I did for the Army. I was in for a total of 6 years. I did
Okay.
active duty, and then I went into the Army Guard.
Okay.
And from there, the units kept deactivating and reactivating as something else. So I ultimately transitioned into the Air Force National Guard.
Talk to us about that transition from Army to Air Force. What was that transition like?
I was scared at first.
Yeah.
You know, but I was like, forget this, because the last unit I was in, I became a supply specialist. They waited till the end to send me to school, got distinguished grad, come back and find out they're activating. So I was like, well, geez, I just finally got what I need to be a real supply person, and you guys are gone. So they were going to send me to Fort Stewart to a unit out there, but they played in the field a lot. And as I told you previously, I don't do bugs. So I refused. And one of the guys I knew, his wife was a recruiter for the Air Guard. So I went and saw her, and you know, I did the physical, and she hooked me up. I got in. I became a flight medic. Totally beautiful transition.
Nice.
So night and day of a lot of things. So like if you're permanent party and you go TDY somewhere, lots of times you're in this barracks, you're with other enlisted folks, and you have GI parties, you got formations, yada, yada, yada. Air Force, none of that. So they paid for me to drive to Wichita Falls, because that's where I went.
Okay.
And they put me up in a hotel. They paid me $26 a day to eat, $4 for the hotel. I got maid service. Had no formations. Formations. I had my car, and I had one roommate, and I was on my own reconnaissance. Like, I make it to class when I'm supposed to. We leave class, and the day is mine. I do whatever as long as I show up the next day for class. And
everybody's happy.
Exactly. I was like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah.
So it's almost like you transition into college.
Interesting.
That's how I felt. I felt like I was in college at that point as a permanent party person, because I remember doing AIT in the Army with other permanent party persons who were trained, you know, cross training, and they were out there with us doing GI parties and formations and all. No formations. I had to answer to no one but me, myself, and I. That's it. Just show up to class.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a huge transition, and it was mind blowing. It was just mind boggling. I'm like, oh wait, they treat me like I'm a real adult here. What?
Yeah, that was probably quite foreign coming from the Army, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the places I went, they use first names. They
Really?
use sir, they use ma'am, they use first names. So like if you would say like hey, have you seen Sergeant Smith? And everybody's like, well, who's that? And they would go, William. You're like, oh yeah, William. Yeah, William just went up to whatever, whatever. So you don't know anybody's last name in
That's
the Air
incredible.
Force.
It's usually the opposite, right? I mean, you don't know his
Totally the
first name.
opposite. And everybody's like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And nobody's like, well, don't call me that. I work for a living. You know what I'm saying? It's like totally foreign. Oh my God. Yeah. Some of the formations were like ridiculously ate up. So transitioning from the Army to the Air Force and seeing some of the as a guard member as opposed to active duty, when you see them lining up and doing these open range formations, I was like, what is happening here? Holy Goma pals.
Oh, that's funny.
But
That's funny.
I still love it. I love it,
Yeah.
loved it. I enjoyed my Army time, but I enjoyed my Air Force time just as equally as much. And I don't think there's many of us out there that can actually say that. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
very cool. I'm curious, Yolanda. So, again, you joined the Army back in '88. So 9/11 would happen, and you're already in the service. How would 9/11? How would that kind of affect your career, or was there a noticeable difference in what was going on at that time?
Yeah, 9/11 really freaked me all the way out.
Yeah.
I'm from New York, so it impacted me in that capacity because
Right.
it's a staple. Um, like when I fly in home in LaGuardia, you see the World Trade Center, you see the Brooklyn Bridge, you see the Statue of Liberty. Never again can you roll in that route again. So you don't see all those things. You see the Brooklyn Bridge, but you don't really get to see the Statue of Liberty anymore.
Okay.
And the Twin Towers are gone. So it's always a very humbling experience if I have to fly into home, and
I'm sure.
I'm getting goosebumps just
Yeah.
thinking about it. I visited Ground Zero for the first time last year. Since it's happened, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It was a beautiful experience, but very, very humbling and touching.
Sure. Yeah.
And I could tell you, the day that it happened, I was in physiology and anatomy class. I went to the bathroom, club bio, because nobody does what they're supposed to do, even as adults in college.
Yeah.
I left
Sure.
out of the room because I was tired of listening to the teacher for the moment. And I was supposed to go right back to the classroom, but I went down to the hall to where our break room is as students, and I was looking at TV, and I was like, wait a minute, that plane just hit the building? I was like, holy, is that the twins?
Yeah.
And I came back to class, and I kind of like came back with this stonic look on my face. And I was trying to get the words out to tell them like something ain't right, and the World Trade Center got hit, and I just couldn't get the words out correctly. I came back, and I just was pretty much a ghost of myself after seeing that.
Gosh.
And I still was in shock. I was like, well, maybe I was watching a parody of something that they're going to do for a movie, and they were showing it on TV. Maybe what I was seeing was not what I was seeing.
Yes.
So then I left class. We went and looked at TV, and sure enough, it was exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
And then we went to organic chemistry, and I never forget our chemistry teacher also. He was from Africa, but he started his journey in New York. So he too was a New Yorker. So we got to class, we talked about it for about 5 or 10 minutes, and he just sent everybody home.
Yeah.
Then the journey became, oh my God, where's my mom? Where's my sister?
Yeah.
Where's my brothers? Who else is down there? I got other family in New York. Like, was anybody in that area? And it took us hours to find out if our loved ones were okay. And ironically, I'm like, life was on their side, because my sister worked for the housing authority at the time, and the courthouse to the housing authority is right next door. And her daughter got sick, so she couldn't go to do her court case because she had to go get her daughter.
Okay.
My mom, her doctor's appointment is directly across the street from where the World Trade Center is. She was too sick to go to the doctor.
Oh my gosh.
And so she wasn't down there. So it was just miracles
Yes.
for us we only had one person that we actually physically knew that was affected by that, and that was my cousin's now wife's mom. She didn't make it, so that was the only casualty that we know of, or that I know of at this point in my life, that was affected severely by the World Trade Center coming down. It's just watching it on TV as it's happening. It's just
Yeah.
eerie, just eerie.
Yes.
Me, my dad, everybody's just like pinned to the TV, like what in the world?
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget, because our unit hadn't been activated since the Korean War, they said. And in 03, we were activated.
Okay.
To go to war. And 03/12/03, we were on the dirt in Oman.
That quick. Holy mackerel. What was, so very quick, just a little over a week or so. What was that time like, Yolanda, moving that fast?
It was a nightmare for me because I had two small kids. And I had to decide who was going to watch my kids, because normally everybody's home. But my mom was in New York. My dad was home alone. My dad didn't drive.
Okay.
I was the only real driver in the family. They didn't feel like my kids should stay with my dad because everybody was physically up north in New York.
Okay.
So I should bring them up there. And it was this whole tug of war about who gets the kids. And
yeah.
Oh my God, it was crazy. So what ultimately winded up happening, we had some events for the family. We did those. And then I did a whole spin around. I drove the kids up one night and dropped them off in New York. My son, the one that was just at the door, literally like passed out in my arms because he hearing the worst of the worst, thought he was never going to see me again.
Yes, right.
He was like 11 at the time, or going to be 11. He was 10, and we dropped him off. I gave him love, and then we hit the highway and came back down here to Georgia, and 2 days later I flew.
Yolanda, talk to us about that first tour in Iraq. What was that time like?
I guess being in the Air Force has some perks because we were in Masira Island, Oman.
Okay.
And it wasn't that bad because we were so far away from everything.
Okay.
So we weren't getting a lot of the intense stuff when it first kicked off. We got a few mishaps because people got into like alcohol and maybe fell down elevator shafts and ships, and
right.
We had a lot of appendectomies happening. That was what we had happening where we were at. A lot of appendectomies. I don't know, must have been like 8 to 10 of them. Yeah, it was crazy. Like everybody needed their appendix taken out for some strange reason. I think maybe he's practicing. I don't know, but we had a lot of appendectomies. That first tour, I think, was kind of luxurious for us in comparison, because we got to go to the beach. We got to meet a lot of the locals. I got to see things I never saw before. Yeah. So it wasn't as scary as it was on my second tour.
Yeah.
On my first tour, I got to see turtles lay eggs and come out to sea and all kinds of great things because we were just that far away. But the second tour, I felt like we got punished for having so much of a good time on the first tour, and we went to Khalil.
Okay.
So that was a whole different story. And then being a flight medic, I took a lot of flights and saw a lot of things that had me wanting to piss my pants. We're dropping people off in mountains and things like that, and you can see like red traces of bullets, coming at the airplane and the aircraft, and you're in the middle of the desert in these dunes and mountains and stuff, and so you don't really know. And my job at the time wasn't so much to be the flight medic for injured. It was more so to check the attitude in the mental capacity of my air crew.
Okay. They
didn't know that, but I knew that. Okay. So they didn't know what my task was. They used to call me Showtime because every time we stop, I go shopping. So and my name was Showtime. So, but they never knew I was there to make sure that their mental was okay.
Okay.
Because you can't really tell them that, because if you tell somebody that, then they're going to act a certain way.
Yes.
So
they're going to be different.
Right. They never knew what the flight medic's mission was, but that was basically to see how they were. They get debriefed and things of that nature. Sometimes we had injured or wounded, and we brought them back. Lots of times we didn't. Most of the time, our mission was just to drop and carry something somewhere, either cargo or actual persons that were cargo. So
Right.
um, it was definitely a different type of flight. Like some places you couldn't go the spans of the air, the aircraft wings, because you can blow up. So it's just you have to be cognizant at all times. There's no more time for exercise and joking and
Yeah.
foolery and things of that nature. You have to be like on serious alert. Like when we went into Afghanistan, they're all walking around toting guns, but we're out there, we're just naked basically. And when I say naked, I mean we don't have any weapons.
Right.
And it's like whoa, and you have different things at different places you go to. So and just seeing the different capacities of the different places is mind blowing. And in the midst of all of that, you're on Holy Land, so you've got
Yes, it's true.
a lot of spiritual things that are happening that are phenoms that you can't explain, and you've got to like figure out what's going on through all of this and try to make some kind of sense out of it. And a lot of times it depending on what your rationalization is, whether you're going to be mad at the world or you're like, well, yeah, let's get those motherfuckers. You just never know where you're at today. And then where we were at, they were still like like going out and exploding stuff. So to make it safe for us, and sometimes they forget to tell us. So we're thinking we're being attacked, and
oh my gosh,
we're donning life vests, and I'm, oh my god, Ma, I love you, Dad.
Oh man, yeah.
Video cameraing, because it's like if they get the tape, then they'll get to see that my last words were, "I love you." You just didn't know what was going on. But unfortunately, while I was there, you make friends with a lot of the foreign nationals that are there.
Yes.
We had the Italians and the ones from the Netherlands and some other places. And the Italian embassy got bombed while we were there. And we got the overflow. So I never got to really know whether any of my friends are alive or not. And that's still something that ruminates in the back of my mind. It took a lot for me to process that. I had to go to a intensive outpatient processing cohort to process that combat, because I felt like I could have been used in a different capacity, because I was working in the green, which is like patch them up and send them back out, but I got ultimately sent to the expectant, which is the black area. They're not expected to live, so there's a lot of moaning, groaning, parts and pieces are missing and things of that nature. So and I was there for like 8 to 12 hours by myself. So you have to like totally like wipe out emotions and thoughts and feelings and just numb yourself out to what's happening in front of you. And it's all going like this.
So fast, yeah.
It's all going like that. So it was intense, very intense. And it took a long time. I had lots of nightmares. I still suffer with like sleep paralysis, where it feels like demons are coming to get you, and that was my remorse. I felt like I could have been better used, because not to say ill of people that aren't going to make it, but as a medic, I felt like I should have been used in a different capacity. And the morgue is typically the mess hall. They typically deal with the morgue stuff, and I felt like someone or persons from that department should have been in charge of the black, and I should have been used more in my capacity. So I felt like I didn't do what I needed to do in my job capacity to really help, even though I really did help one guy a lot before he ultimately went to wherever they go when they go.
Right. Yolanda, if you don't mind me asking, as a mother, what was it like, to be there, to be going through all this, an environment that's so fast, there's so much death and everything around you. What was that like?
I kept a journal.
Did you?
I kept a journal. I had sent pillows back home with both of my kids' names on there, and such. Well, that's my 2-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, I love it.
But I kept a journal. I sent them a pillow with their names on it, and it said "Mommy loves you." And one is 27 now, and the other is 31, and they both still have their pillows.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Oh my gosh.
They both still have their pillows. I had given them pillowcases before I left. You know, my unit took pictures of us, and they ironed them onto the pillowcases.
Okay.
And gave them those. I don't know where those are at, but the military pillows that I gave them, they still have those. And then I gave them dog tags with all our names on it, and they have those. So it was hard, but whenever I could talk, I talked to them. At one point, we talked on the phone, and they told me, "Mom, if you don't come back home for Christmas, don't come back home." And like I had control over it, but
right.
I did manage to get back home before Christmas, and they had big signs and all kinds of great stuff waiting for me. It was oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
I bet.
They hugged me for dear life, and it was a great reunion for sure. It was just as hard on them as it was on me, and I think especially because they were 7 and 11, and you know, they only see what they see on the news, and they didn't, you know, at the time you can't tell them where you're at, and so they don't know anything, and so all they have to cling on to is whatever words you get to tell them whenever you get to talk to them. So, you know, and cell phones wasn't as prevalent then. I had a crappy sat phone that barely worked, so with the global GPS in it, but you know, it was what it was. So I did my morale calls when I could do them, and I was fine, and I'm okay, and I'm alive, and you know, I hopefully be home soon, and give them that glimpse of hope. So but it was definitely hard on them. They had to do a little therapy. So
thank you for talking on that, Yolanda. What was it like? What was it like for you coming home back to the U.S. after that second tour in Iraq?
I kind of felt honored when I came back. You know, they saying thank you for your service, I think back then for me meant a lot more than it does. Than it kind of does now. It's kind of like, I feel like it's like I have to tell you that kind of thing, as opposed to then, you know, you got the whole clap and ovations, and you know, like wow, you know, like a lot of fans. Right, you know, because they really, I could feel the appreciation. I'm not saying that the people that say it now don't. I guess I feel differently about it at this point in my life.
Yeah, and I think I know what you mean too in your own way, because at that time, I mean, this was still, you know, those especially the early years of the war. You know, I was in Iraq December 04 through December 05, and it was similar in that, you know, everyone, you know, had the yellow ribbon, you know, the magnets on their car. They had them at their homes. They had them in their yards, you know. So
on the mailboxes,
we were, yes, on the mailboxes. You know, the country was still very, very close to the 9/11 tragedies. And, you know, as time went on, not that people stopped caring, but as we got further and further and further removed from that, you know, I get what you mean in my own way. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's, I mean, it's, and then you kind of don't know what to say when people say that to you. So it's like, thank you, you're welcome. You know, I still struggle with like you know, kind of thing.
Well, I'm gonna thank you for your service right now, Yolanda. You know, from one sister in arms, one veteran to another. You know, I thank you for your service, and we all thank you for that. But I get that, right? What is the appropriate response back? You know, and what do you say to that? But you know, we are so very grateful for your service to our great country.
Thank you.
What parts of, or you know, was there difficult parts of being back?
So when I came back, which is probably what most of us experience as military persons coming from over there. It's a struggle, but you don't realize you're struggling.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. There you go. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, you're definitely struggling, but you don't know you're struggling. You have severe PTSD, but in your mind, you're still the same person.
Yes.
That left home.
Yes. Yep.
Only exactly. You don't know that you've changed, but everybody else does.
They see it very clearly, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, it took me a long time to figure out that I had issues. Yeah. A long time, and when I figured it out, I think I broke down and cried for so long. Because I was like, I did a disservice to my children. Because I was going through the motions. Like, I would make sure they ate and went to school. But after that, I shut down. I was in my room. The door was closed. There was all the interactions we used to have kind of stopped because I got a neck injury. Okay. So I couldn't do all the things I used to be able to do. And it just wasn't working. It really wasn't working. But I really didn't realize that it wasn't working. Luckily, I had pretty good kids, because I don't know what I would have done had my kids been some other type of kids, because they were still functioning relatively well. They, played their video games. They were into their video games, and they had their friends. They wanted them to come over. I was like, sure, whatever. I was like, whatever it took to get them out of my hair so I could just be alone and in quietness. And we used to have like this whole little setup where Fridays was either Taco Friday or we go out to eat, and I let them pick. We used to have surprise getaways, and I take them to go places like Universal or just somewhere in Florida or South Carolina or somewhere, and all that stopped. And I look back on it when I finally started getting real care. And I was like, man, I sucked. I really, really sucked. And I think the more suckier part was that my family knew I sucked. But then when I realized I sucked and told them, yeah, I do, they didn't care. They didn't care at that time. So it's just, it's just weird. It's like this, it's like this back and forth tug of war kind of thing happening. I don't know. It took me till 2012 to actually really start seeing a real psychologist, because they kept sending me to psychiatrists and trying to give me meds, and I wasn't really taking them. I was like, and going through motions. Oh, this don't work, that don't work. So they was going through all kinds of stuff, but I wasn't taking it. I was like, whatever. Most of my jobs were deemed hostile work environments, so I could never really get along wherever I was. I didn't realize I was a manager at Walmart, and I couldn't realize why I felt closed in. Okay. And then it hit me. It's too many people in this mother sucker, and I'm not functioning the way I need to function, and I got to get out of here. And that's when I took a turn, and I went to Illinois, and I became a college instructor. Okay. For at-risk youth, which was a better environment for me with the kids, but I didn't get along with the staff at all. I thought the staff was relatively stupid, even though a lot of them were military persons. I was like, we were not getting along with each other. Yeah. It was crazy. And I didn't even know where my traumatic events were. And at that time I didn't know my feelings, thoughts, and emotions weren't congruent and tied into each other. You just got the same little vocabulary. You're like, I'm happy, I'm mad. That's it. Yeah. There was nothing else. Everything else was like, kind of thing. And they're like, well, how do you feel? You don't know how to talk anymore. You just feel incapacitated. Yeah. You feel very incapacitated. So I did lots of retreats from December 2016 all the way up until even now to help myself. So some were in the mental health capacity. Some were recreational, where I've started doing stuff that I've never done in my life or never thought I should do in my life, like skiing. I did adaptive skiing. I've done adaptive golfing. I've done archery, axe throwing.
Oh, very cool.
Whitewater rafting, cross country. Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff that I've never done. I've got a recumbent trike now that I ride and zip around in, because I can't ride my upright like I used to. And it's just a new way of life. But I think for me, once I embraced all the stuff that was going on mentally, I was able to more so embrace the emotional stuff, the physical stuff, and bring all of those back together. It took a long time. And 2020, at the height of COVID, is when I finally found my release and my breakthrough. And I was, for the first time, able to be home alone and isolate and be okay with being isolated. Yeah. I mean, I still have triggers. I still have my head on a swivel stick. It's just not as bad as it used to. And I will go out now with friends.
What do you think? What was that turning point, Yolanda? Or what pushed you through that point to be able to do that? And I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of stuff, but I mean, what really felt like the catalyst?
My last 3 retreats were my catalyst that pushed me over, because I was still struggling mentally, big time. I did one retreat. It was an IOP. I'm calling it a retreat, but it was an IOP. And I came back. They introduced me to CPT, stuck points, cognitive processing thinking.
Yeah.
And I was stuck on the stuck point. It was just horrible for me. I just was not computing. I'm intelligent, got a master's degree, almost had a PhD, but I couldn't get these stuck points to save my life. And me and that therapist was a no-go.
Okay.
And I finally filed 13'd. Yeah. And I think she thought she was punishing me by making me go to the head of the department and do prolonged exposure again. I said, I'll take it over this any day of the week. Give it to me. So I that was in 2017 when I did, 2018, because I did that last IOP at the end of 2017. Okay. So 2018 was my pinnacle stage of starting to do my turn of my transition. And she was exactly what I needed. The new therapist was on point. She didn't let me do my drive-bys. She was straight on, no chaser. She's straight off the cuff. And she could give it just like I was giving it. She knew I was running.
Yeah.
She was like, no, come back here. So it was it was exactly who and what I needed in my life. So I worked through some of my MST stuff from the military with her. I worked through from going in into getting out. Okay. And then I did an IOP. My IOP I did in 2020 is where, no, I did a retreat. I did SAW, which is Save a Warrior.
Okay.
And the way their retreat works is not military based. It's based off your childhood. Like, what was your why for going in the military?
Interesting.
These are some of the factors that would have initiated you into going into the military. And a lot of times you have some type of childhood trauma that pushes you towards, I'm done with home and I'm getting out of here. I'm out. And that was the first catalyst, or the second after my therapist. So that was the second, Save a Warrior. And I came out of there with a renewed sense of, okay, that was interesting. I like that. And then I did this one called Gratitude America Warrior Path. Also not military based, but based off your childhood.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And those two together combined for me pushed me over the hump that I was stuck at. And then, you go through these little scenarios and skits with your cohort that help you. So it kind of helped teach me boundaries. Like a lot of people like, well, they won't respect my boundaries, blah, blah, blah. They're not changing, they're not this. And your therapist teaches you all of these different things, but they don't really teach you how to really navigate them. And I think these two courses have taught me how to navigate them. Like, I learned boundaries are not set for the person you intend them for. Boundaries are set for yourself.
Yes. You
set the boundary, and you set that boundary for yourself, and you'll be fine. And setting those boundaries helps you to change who you are, because now you're making people navigate differently because you're navigating differently. And once that clicks and registers in your mind, then it makes it make sense. Yeah. And a quick example of that before I go to the catalyst that threw me over the other side to the other side of the cliff, so I wasn't standing on it anymore, and they didn't have that. My parents. So I love my parents dearly. Me and my mom usually are like oil and water. We're just not mixing. So I love my family and I want to be a part of my family, but we were just clashing. So what I decided to do after learning about boundaries, I started setting some. So I only went to their house when I had appointments on that side of town.
Okay.
And I set my initial appointments. I set my initial time frame to be 15 minutes. So I first started going there. I stay about 15 minutes. That was about all I could take because I was still very much still triggered.
Yeah.
And eventually that time went from 15 to 30, from 30 to an hour. Then I started adding in family members. So I know which family members I can be around together and apart and things of that nature. And now I'm where I don't have a timeline. I don't have a time frame. I just go when I want to go. But I know which buttons, when pushed, tells me, okay, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Without me having to blow up, without me being this angry child, without being aggressive, without allowing my Hulk smash syndrome to just catapult me into this atmosphere of stupidity. So, and it works. And in you changing, it changes how people work with you, how people talk to you, how people see you differently. Like my family used to say, well, how do we know if you're upset or not upset? Because you always frowning. And in my mind, I thought I was smiling, but I found out, no, I was still angry. I had a therapist tell me, you have anger issues. And I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
And then you look back on it. Yeah, you do have anger issues because you haven't dealt with your shit. And then I went to UCLA's Operation Men.
Okay.
And I did their 3-week IOP, and they catapulted me because we worked on from the time I got out of the military till like now. And they don't use any textbook therapy on you. They meet you where you're at, and they allow you to know that you can do it based off of your needs and ability. You get a neuropsych, you get a psychologist, you get all these classes, you get a nice little cohort, and you all work together. You get art therapy. So it all was beautiful for me because they didn't use the textbook. And they rearranged CPT to work with my mind frame, which was I can't do it. It taught me how to use stuck points. So now I don't get stuck. Which sounds weird, but there is a way if you know how to, if you know what your bound, not your boundary, but you know what your issue is on how it started, you can navigate and make that negative into a positive. I learned how to do mindfulness for Yolanda, not mindfulness for the world. You know.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was telling a friend, mindfulness is not the. That's not always mindfulness. That doesn't work for me. I do grounding techniques, which press my feet into the thing. I have what is the putty called? Thinking putty. I have thinking putty. It's not silly. It's like similar to silly putty, but not quite as firm. And I use that a lot, and I do things like this with it.
Okay.
And, people don't ask questions about the putty. They just see putty, and I'm like, okay, well, she's playing with putty.
Yeah.
But that's to house my anxiety into this little compact thing, and I just roll it around. I do stuff with it. I paint. I get the canvas out, and the paintbrush just calms me down. When I feel depression kicking in, I pull it out, and I just do paint strokes. I've self-taught since COVID. I've done lots of landscapes. I'm doing abstracts now. I do alcohol inks. I do acrylic pours. I do shirts. I make shirts, t-shirts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Glasses, mugs. Resin pours. I have my little garden. I have to fix it. It's not set up right now, but I have my garden, so I get my hands in some dirt. I built this wall up on my fireplace that is beautiful. And those, for me, that's my mindfulness.
Yeah.
That's how I calm myself down. That's my mental shut down, chill out. And now at night I use ASMRs, which are basically things that make no sense but make you feel good. Like
Okay.
I watch a guy clean carpets.
Yeah.
It's like there's like
Yeah.
what do what, but you watch it and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know,
Yeah.
and you're just listening to just sounds. And they got one guy I watch who just tinkers. I got
Okay.
another one I watch where they just either pressure wash the floors or houses, or they're mowing the lawn, but there's no words. It's like I don't need any words. I don't want to hear it. And then
Yeah.
now I'm doing that, and then when I get into bed, because my mind still refuses to totally shut down, I'll listen to like rain sounds with black screens on YouTube.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that way the room is still dark, but all I'm hearing is or waves crashing or thunderstorms or whatever. But it calms my mind down, and I can clear all the junk out. Abstracts and the alcohol inks help me clear out the garbage. So for me, whenever I have a lot of chatter going on, I just do an abstract because it's mindless. You don't have to think about it. There's no thought pattern to it. You just put some paint on the canvas and
Yeah.
go free, and you wind up with voila, some really cool stuff on the canvas. And then when I do my landscapes, that's more of a thought pattern. So I have like right now I have a lotus in my head, and I'm gonna let it out eventually because it's gonna get louder and louder and louder and try to sit. And I'll get the paintbrush out. I know I want it to be fairly big, so I'm gonna get one of my bigger canvases out, and I'm gonna sketch out what I want to paint, and I'm gonna get to it, and I'm gonna have fun doing it. And I don't necessarily do it for profit, but I do have paintings that I have either bartered for something or I've been paid to do that work. I just don't want it to ever become something that becomes a job. So
Yeah.
I work through it with my therapist, and what I do now for my artwork is, if you want a piece from me, then you can give me some colors, and then you get what I'm gonna give you, because it's still
very
art,
cool. Yeah.
but you don't get to dictate what it is.
Mm.
So that way it's still mindfulness for me, but it's a beautiful piece of art you get to put up in your home, whether it be a landscape or an abstract piece of work or whatever I decide in my head is going to come out. That's what you get. I journal, and my journals come out like spoken word. So, you know, I'm really using the left part of my side of my brain. My right side is already full to capacity with, you know, my medical degree. I've got a IT degree. I've got a biology degree. So that nerd side is fulfilled. So now this nerd side is being fulfilled, and it makes me feel good.
I love that. Yeah.
You feel good, and I now know when I'm hitting my cliff of depression.
Okay.
You know, or if something's triggering me to make me want to walk towards the cliff, and I come back. And then I've got this cool tattoo right here that says one day at a time, and there's my semicolon right there, and this is serotonin and dopamine. And happiness, love and happiness is what I got, what I need. And I figured out what my way of mindfulness is for Yolanda. You know, you have to figure out what your sweet spot is to calm you back down and do your mindfulness, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for the next person. And that's what it's all about, is finding out how to better yourself and make yourself that new you, because you're not the person you left behind. You're not the person that came back from Iraq, but in that molding in gel, it's like that caterpillar that becomes a butterfly. Somewhere in that cocoon, you're gonna crack out, and you're gonna become this beautiful creation again, and you're gonna learn how to kind of thrive and set yourself somewhat free. You know, I might not be all the way free, but I'm definitely freer than I was back in 2020. You know, at the height of 2020. So and I'm happy for it.
Oh my gosh, we're so happy for you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Yolanda. Would you speak for a minute to anyone listening, but maybe specifically to women, to mothers who are struggling to kind of crawl out of that dark place? What would you say to them?
You gotta, you can't let fear overpower you. What is it? The saying goes, what fear is false. Was it false encounters appearing real? You can't allow fear to overcome you. You have to take the steps. You have to be a better you for you. You can't be a better you for someone else before you're a better you for you. It's like they say in the airplane, you have to put your mask on first.
Yeah.
If you don't put on your mask, you're useless to everybody else. So take care of you. Self-care is not selfless. Self-care is not selfish.
Yep.
You got to do that self-care and that self-love. And I've been on that path since 2020, and it's been righteous. I've been so much more of a better person, and I've got friends that'll tell you that. You know, I've got 5 friends I started my very first retreat with, and it was all of theirs as well. And we're still talk daily.
That's tremendous.
You know? And we're the therapy outside of the professional for each other, because we all bring something, you know, clean and fresh and new to each other. So find your tribe. Find your tribe.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a big tribe. Just find your tribe. Find you some people that don't have a crab in the barrel mentality, and that's going to uplift you, push you forward, and can speak positivity and reframing into your life. That's what we need. That's the catalyst for most of us, because we all want to get better, but some people don't like it when other people get better, and they'll pretend to be your friend, but they're still weighing you down. You don't need a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
You need a positive Peggy.
I like it. There you go. Thank you, Yolanda. I want to shift gears here just a little bit with you and talk to you about Catch a Lift. How'd you find Catch a Lift?
Actually, one of my beautiful friends from that very first retreat. Yeah, she works with y'all. Not works with y'all, but you know, gym membership with you guys.
Wonderful.
She told us about it, and I tried the gym, and it's just still too people-y in there for me. I'm not that people-y, so
I get it.
You gotta know where you're at. And when I learned that you guys also did gym equipment and not just gym memberships, I was like, oh, I gotta try them out and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I went, and then I told some other friends, and we all kind of started together on this journey, and it's just fun and funny at, you know, when we go through the process of picking what we want, how everybody has this different view of what everyone else should get, right? So I was super excited. You know, initially I didn't know what the heck I wanted. I was clueless. So, you know, I just got some random stuff, and I was like, okay, I don't know, but because, you know, I'm not a gym rat, but I know I wanted to exercise. I know I used to be an athlete, and I know I'm not happy with my weight now, and it's mostly dealing with my depression, and then I've had 2 foot surgeries on a military issue, and then I have sciatica. So learning how to work around that chronic pain and fibromyalgia and all the new stuff that I've gotten since I've been out of the military because of the military, you know, you have to navigate everything, not just your mental, but your physical, your emotional.
Yes, that's true.
Everything. So I got those few pieces, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And, you know, I'm exercising, I'm doing my thing. And I was like, yeah. And then I get a notification that said, it's time for you to renew. Huh? Renew what? So then, you know, you go through all the emotions again, and you pick your new equipment. But I think the coolest part about it is you don't just get stuff. You guys are like a whole conglomerate city within yourselves. You got the landing zone, which has like a whole bunch of coaches. You got nutritionists, so you can learn how to eat better. You got people who you see are doing different things out in their communities and getting trophies and going to like valor games and like weightlifting, and the exercise is just really like completely become their mindfulness.
For sure, yes.
Not necessarily just getting them out of their homes, but getting them into shape and shaping their minds at the same time, and making people happy, you know, because you can get your aggression out on some equipment. Yeah, you can. And it feels dang good. I cannot lie. So I love the fact that you guys are out there, and I love that, you know, even despite COVID and some of the hiccups that happened during COVID, you guys are still kicking it and kicking it strong. You know, it made me want to become even more involved with you guys. So like I have on my shirt today, not just
I know, I love it.
Interview. You know, I have my hat here too. but I've become an ambassador. So I've been like any place I know veterans frequent. I've been taking the flyers and the posters
Oh,
for
that's so
and the
tremendous.
bracelets and stuff for them to so they can know because
Yeah.
it's hard to get it all out.
Yes.
But I'm just one person. But if I can put it in tactical places that I know it's military affiliated, then I can get the word out better because one tells one, that tells two, that tells four, that tells eight, that tells 16.
That's huge, right? That's
So-
absolutely huge.
Exactly. So that's the way to get the word out because you tell one person, they're like, well, nobody ever told me this. Well, I just told you just now.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. I just told you just now. So you go out and you tell your friends, like I'm telling my friends, and then we can all be covered in catch a lift gear and getting our exercise on and competitive.
Oh my
I
gosh.
like to be competitive, and so my friend, she just got her big piece of equipment, and she's like, "Well, you need to get this," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna get this," and but we're like two little kids, but it makes you feel good knowing that you got something that you're gonna love, and you got to pick it out. Nobody picked it out for you.
Yep. It's
Saying,
individual
"This is what
for
I
you.
need. Yeah, this is what I need, and this is what I'm gonna use, and I'm gonna be passionate about it because I'm picking that piece of equipment out just for myself." And the beauty is, even though you're picking it out for yourself, you're still not by yourself because you can still ask a lot of questions. Again, you can go to the landing zone and check out like different pieces of equipment and how they're used and whether that equipment is for you or not for you, or if you really want it but you're really not going to use it because of the capacity in which it's made to be used. So you have all those different things, and you have you guys to we can email or message and ask. And you have your nutritionist, they'll give input. So you've got a whole community, you got a whole tribe of people that are willing to help you become the best you can become. And Catch a Lift is bomb.
Oh, heck yeah. And we're so very grateful, Yolanda, that you're out in the community as an ambassador for Catch a Lift, because that's still the number one way, right, that veterans come to us. It's word of mouth, right, veteran to veteran in their communities or, in their veteran networks. So we're so very grateful to have you as a veteran athlete and the fact that you're out there pushing Catch a Lift. We're very grateful. I do have one last question for you today.
Uh-oh.
It's the big one. You ready? All right, Yolanda, what does being a Catch a Lift veteran athlete mean to you?
Relief. If I had to use one word, relief, because you've given me some of my ability to be me again. And what I mean by that is just like what I was just saying about being I used to be an athlete, and I used to be very outgoing. I'm still somewhat outgoing. I'm more of an ambivert. You get me out, then I'm all in. But if you don't, then I'm in the house. So, but in going to the gym again, where I used to have a great time going to the gym, working out, getting it in, it's not as much a happy place for me because, like I said, it's too people-y.
Yeah.
But you guys giving me that equipment has been life-saving. Not only has it helped me to get me back together and back on my journey to the weight I want to be at, but I have my siblings now who want to come over and be competitive. They're like, "Oh, we going to the house of Yolanda. We going to Gym Yo-Yo." We like, "Okay, well, Yo-Yo's gym is open. Let's go."
I love it.
So, they just hate the fact that I don't wake up early. So they come to the gym at 6 a.m. Still knocked out. Yo-Yo might be up about 10, 11 o'clock. But outside of that, it's definitely brought me closer to some people that I wasn't as close to. Even my son wants to get out here and wants a word in. Well, why are you getting that, Mom? What does that do? And I've never heard of this and I've never heard of that. But now that I'm telling him and showing them videos behind different things, it's like, oh, well, I've never tried that. I can try that, because he's trying to press me to get a squat machine. I'm like, I don't squat. I got bad knees. It's not happening. So I got to squat a different kind of way. Yeah. So I showed him different equipment. He's like, okay, we'll get it. I'll try it. I'm like, cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've got my granddaughter who I don't know what it is, but every time I get on something to exercise, here she comes. So Like I have this thing I
That's
call
so cool.
I call it an elliptical bike, and my friend calls it the Spider-Man. I have to pick her up and put her on it. I gotta wait till she sleeps to get on my treadmill because she thinks she's supposed to walk with me. It's just crazy. But I don't shun her. I allow her to get on it, but I don't turn it on and let her think she's walking. So I let her do her thing.
Yeah.
And interact. I got my punching bag. I got her a smaller one so she can punch too. Hey, they start early, so
Yes.
why not embrace it and allow her to do her thing too, and while I'm still getting my fun on the workout machine.
Yeah.
It gave me a sense of family again, because it's brought a lot of my family back to me because I have the equipment. So it's been very, very helpful, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yolanda, thank you so much for coming on today and talking with us. It was so much fun having you. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We're always so grateful to have the opportunity to connect with our members and heal through the stories of our veterans. A special thank you to our guest, Yolanda Jones, for sharing your story and light with us all today. It was absolutely terrific. Don't forget to join us every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube for a chance to win Cal Swag and to chat with your brothers and sisters. If you like today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and leave us a review on your favorite streaming service. Until next week, keep it real and stay Cal strong.